Mr. Muntaqim, do you still see the revolutionary and anti-racist struggle with the same eyes as when you were arrested? Do you identify yourself, for example, with the Black Lives Matter movement? What have changed in your mind about the social and political struggle in the United States?
Okay. There's two parts to that question.
Yes. Combo. Two questions
in one. Combo question. Okay. The first part of that question is, am I the same guy that I was when I was 19 years old at the age of 69? Of course not. Impossible. Right? That's saying that I have not matured or not grown or not evolved from a 19-year-old hot-headed militant to a now 69-year-old great-grandfather. Of course there's been differences. There has been a lot of change, a lot of growth, a lot of development, a lot of study, right, in 50 years of reading books and testing theory into practice. In that period of time, I've written 2 books, published 2 books, and built relationships, built organizations, built national campaigns in that period of time. Had the first petition submitted to the United Nations that I organized. Had the first national prisoners newspaper at that time. Has an organization that exists today that I'm the founder of, called the Jericho Movement. Yeah, that I organized when I was in prison. And so, of course, during the course of the years of imprisonment, there has been growth and involvement and change. Now, in regards to the existence of the Black Lives Matter movement, right? It's important for us to understand the Black Lives Matter movement is a trend, it's a tendency. It's not necessarily a movement, okay? Although they have a platform, it is so decentralized as an organization that it has not really have any major impact outside of social consciousness. So in my thinking, the Black Lives Matter movement or Black Lives Matter tendency is what is a social consciousness movement, very similar to the Civil Rights Movement. The Civil Rights Movement was a social consciousness movement to raise people's consciousness to understanding that there had to be some kind of institutional change in the social order, all right? But in terms of being a militant revolutionary movement, it is not that, right? And we need not confuse those two, okay? But as a social consciousness movement, it is very effective in raising people's consciousness. One thing that is important to understand in regards to as being a social conscious movement was why would anyone have to come up with the idea that Black Lives Matter, right? That suggests that there are people who are thinking that Black lives did not matter, right? That there was no value to Black lives, all right? So just the idea that 3 women had to come up with this slogan, hashtag, and create this national and also international perspective that Black Lives Matters indicates to what degree that Black lives have been denigrated, right, in our own humanity. And so that speaks volumes in terms of a social movement, social consciousness movement. And so that's what they was able to achieve at this point in time. Unfortunately, there's need to be more. We need to create conditions by which we actually challenge the institutions that continue to denigrate and dehumanize Black lives, right? And we're not there yet, right? The Black Panther Party attempted to do that back in the 60s and the early 70s, but we're not there yet today. And that is the next level. That's the next point of struggle that we need to begin to organize towards, right? Building the kind of militancy and kind of a movement that actually demands substantial institutional change. And so that's where we're moving towards in the next epoch, or this epoch of struggle in the United States.
How do you define yourself in terms of ideology and political tendencies nowadays?
I don't know if I understand that question.
How do you define yourself ideologically nowadays?
Ideologically?
Your political option and your ideological identity nowadays. How do you define yourself about ideology and political orientation?
I'm a revolutionary, right? But now let me explain that to you, right? You take the word revolution, you take the R off. What do you have? Evolution, right? And so when you take the R off, you have evolution. Then what is a revolutionary? A revolutionary is one who engages in the practice of evolutionizing social order, all right? From one level of existence to another level of better existence, or from a quantitative to a qualitative state of existence. So I'm one who engages in struggle, the purpose of raising our level of humanity from one level to a higher level, a more perfect
level. Which level we do know what we're talking about? We are talking about capitalism and racism, but what level?
What level?
Yeah,
that's yet to be defined, right? It's a work in progress. We're not there yet, that's for certain, all right? But we're engaging, and for long as the evolutionary process is moving forward, right, and not regressing or not being stagnant, then there's progress, all right? So I put the R on evolution, right? Because our human existence is based upon evolution, right? We are always, as a humanity, we're always evolving, right, to a better state, a higher state of our own interactions and interrelationship with one another, right, on this planet. And we are protectors of this planet for the most part, right? At least those of us who are not capitalist imperialists and profiteers, who finds that our labor and the resources are need to be exploited for the profits of a few, to the detriment of the many. All right. So if you're not in that ilk, you're not in that category, then our evolutionary process is for the improvement of our humanity across the board. All right. So that is how I define myself and the work that I'm doing. It's an evolutionary process by ways of the revolutionary means.